Alright, now a few days ago I actually asked you guys if you wanted a thumbnail tutorial, and most of you said yes. So here I am, making a thumbnail tutorial. Now I know some of my older ones are pretty bad, and obviously here they're just clips. So with most of my clips I don't usually just make thumbnails because it's fine without them. But see, these are some of my more recent videos. This was my montage, and yeah, I'm gonna show you how I made these thumbnails, and without further ado, let's just hop into it. Alright, so run HyperX, but as you can see, I'm on a Badline client, and so for my thumbnails, I usually use the Badline replay mod. I used to use like HyperX replay mod, but it's HyperX replay mod isn't actually that great. Honestly, I prefer Badline a lot. You can actually even use the regular replay mod, but I just kind of prefer Badline because it's easier in my opinion. Or they're pretty much the same. But yeah. So for my thumbnails, actually I don't actually do them on HyperX. Well, sometimes I'll do them on HyperX. Like my bed fight video, I actually recorded it. I actually made it while I was on Mindman. But for most of these videos, I'll actually do it on a single player world. So here, let's just get on that really quick. Alright, so we're on like a single player world right now. And basically you can kind of just search a video on how to download Bed Wars maps. It's pretty easy. But yeah, so I'm just kind of in a single player world here. And what I would normally do is kind of first I would get like my my actual replay. So I press P, that's my recording button, and then I'll just spam my sword and just run for a bit. And yeah, that should be that's basically it. The main thing is kind of when you actually go into your replays. So here, if we go into the replay here, this is kind of like the main bit you want to edit. Right here, let me just back a bit, put speed down. What I like to do is just, I'll either like, for some videos, I'll just have the sky, I'll turn the sky off, so then I can kind of remove the sky and replace it for something else, just to make it easy. But I think for this, what I might just do is just kind of turn the sky to daytime. Here, where's the time changer? So you can kind of turn it to day here. And then what I'll do is just have this in slow-mo and just try and get to a point which I think will be good. Alright, so I kind of like this spot right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my FOV to 30. Because 30 FOV, you should probably use 30 FOV, it's pretty good. Now, I used to use shaders, but honestly, now I just kind of like using this Silder's Enhanced Default Shaders, which kind of gives it more shadow, because when we actually edit the photo, you can turn up like the saturation and the brightness. So what I like to do is kind of just give it shadow, so even when I'm doing this, it might be really dark. So what I do is press F1 and then kind of the character to the side, so you can have space for like your text basically. And I also like to give it a little bit of space there so I can add some like blur later. But basically you just press F2, screenshot that, and there you go. And now I think I'm gonna go into the editing software. Alright, so for my editing software, I usually like to use Pixlr, Pixlr. You can kind of use any editing software you like, but I prefer Pixlr. You can use like Photopea or Photoshop. They're all pretty much the same, honestly. I just prefer Pixlr. I've been using it for a while. So I'm just gonna create new 1920 by 1080. I mean, you could do like 4K if you want, but honestly I think 1080 is kind of the perfect one. To get your actual screenshot, you can just press Windows and R, and then just press %app data %, and then OK. So we'll bring up this and go to Minecraft, screenshots. Then you can scroll down, and then you should have your screenshot right here. You can have it in 2 pixel, and you can obviously just move it around, kind of do what you want with it. And make it a bit bigger. Might just make it so my character fills up more of the screen, and then just leave it like this. Yeah, kind of like this. And then what I kind of like to do first is, since that it's kind of dark, because I'm using like shaders that increase like your shadows, what I like to do straight away is just increase the exposure, which is basically just kind of the brightness. I just prefer to increase exposure and not brightness. If you do like 30, 35, actually no, I'm going to, it's a bit bright, I'm gonna actually set that to like maybe 28 or 30. 27. Alright, I'll leave it like this. And then hue and saturation. Turn the saturation up to like 30, I think is good. And see, it's already much brighter. Now it looks a bit bright right now, but when we actually upload it, I think it'll look pretty good. And then what I like to do is I duplicate this, and I name this. Alright, let's name this character. And then this I'm gonna name background. Oh, I spelled it wrong, whatever. And then let's hide this. And then what I kind of want to do with the character first is to like mask it out, kind of. And there's other ways you can do this, like you can use the like magic word cutout mask thing, but honestly I think it's a lot better if you just use like just regular hand, because sometimes with the cutout mask thing where it automatically kind of masks it for you, it leaves out some parts, and then there's like random dots, which kind of annoying, especially for some steps in this. So what I like to do is manually mask this out. Alright, I'll see you in a minute. Alright, so I think I'm done masking, and as you probably saw, I did use the like the cutout tool to kind of get rid of some of it, but you have to be a bit careful because it does leave like some spots here which you kind of have to erase. See, there's like a little bit here and here, which when you like outline it later, you can't have those like spots there. So yeah, but if you're like making a video where you have like sky, so in this video what I did was it makes it actually super easy to mask, because in here when I recorded it I turned off the sky, so it was just kind of a white sky, which I could easily just mask out with like one button to just kind of clear it all. And then I just had to kind of mask my feet out in the bottom. And then I replaced it with, another sky, and then I just put all my keyboard, mouse, and stuff on there. But with this one you kind of have to mask out the whole thing, which is fine because that only took me like 5 minutes or something, which you should probably like listen to music or something while you're doing it, I recommend. And then when you have the background here, you can just enable it, disable it, and then it will just, it'll have background, no background, which makes it really good because then you can do a bunch of stuff with this. And then what I kind of like to do then is, what I might do now is, I probably should have left a bit more space between my character and the wall here, but I'm pretty sure we can do that. And then, so then it will kind of be, it'll be good like that as well. Alright, there we go. So I think that'll leave slightly more space. I moved it quite a bit, but I think it looks slightly better now. And then what I'm gonna do is, I think I'm going to add the blur of the this character, because if you haven't really noticed, in some of my videos my character has this kind of blur effect, like here. You can kind of see on the side there's like that blur right there. It kind of makes it look like I'm running, which I quite like. I'm actually gonna turn up the saturation on this just by like 10 or something. Yeah, that's good, that's good. I like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to Control D and copy this, and then I'm going to hide this character. So we've got this character right here, which I can put kind of back here. When you do this, make sure if there's anything like this, which is kind of the side, because I adjusted it when I kind of created this. Make sure you get rid of all this, because you can't have this here. And then I'm going to make sure it's on the same layer as like the character. I mean, I prefer it when it's like the same layer as the character, like that. You can actually make it slightly lower. Actually make your character slightly lower than the player. I think that's pretty good. And then you can hide this character here, and then you have the copy. Just get rid of this top part here. And then what you can do, there's some bits here that I want to get rid of. What I can do is you go to Filter, Details, Motion Blur, and then turn to 100. Apply. You can have this like there. And then when you enable the background, you enable this. See, that looks really good. And what you can do is you can move this so it looks a little bit better. Like this. I think that looks really good. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add a little, hold on, I'm gonna take this, move it back a tiny bit, and then with the character I'm gonna add filter, and we're gonna add an outline here. But as you can see, those little dots I missed, which are alright because I can just kind of, alright, now I'd have to do that after. Just make sure it's just plain white for that. In size, I like to do like 12, maybe like 95 opacity. I'll just leave that 100. And then you can apply this and just hide this because there's some spots that I missed. And that's got like a perfect mask right there with the characters. This is kind of like the perfect character. And then we got our background here. And in my opinion, I think that looks pretty good. And then for the background, I will add like kind of a little bit of Gaussian blur, like 20. And then what I do is I add zoom blur, which I think looks really good. You just have to be careful because there's an actual character there that will zoom as well, because you have your character in the background as well. So I like to leave it like 4 or 5%. I'm gonna leave it at 4, because if you have it at 4, then the outline will kind of get rid of the character, so you won't be able to see it. But I think 5 looks good as well. I'm just gonna leave it at like 5. And then what you want to do is normally you'd add like a vignette, but there's a little kind of outline thing I have. As you can see, it's like an outline thing in a lot of my videos. You can't really see it here because that's kind of when I first started doing it, but you can see here, 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 and here I have this outline around it, so I'll do it later. And then I'm probably gonna add the main thing, so like the text. So we'll just make this white. And then what you can do is you can have Panton, which is basically the Lunar Clan font, which a lot of YouTubers use. Alright, we have this, and you can turn up the size. I like to have it at like 200 maybe. I think that looks good. But you've probably noticed that a lot of YouTubers, what they'll do is, this doesn't really look exactly like what they'll have. So what they'll have normally is, if you go to shadow and kind of make this a bit lighter, and then you can kind of turn down the blur, turn up the opacity, distance, kind of have that maybe low, and then direction, have it at like 180, and then distance, you can turn that down a bit. So they'll kind of have it like this, but then they have this kind of glowing effect, which you can kind of do if you just layer, rasterize layer. So that kind of makes it so it's not really text anymore. You can't really edit this anymore. So then we could do filter and outer glow, and then turn down the size. I like to turn up the feather, turn down the opacity. Honestly, first I think I'm just gonna add like some bloom and filter bloom. This kind of makes it look, oh, wrong thing. Adjustment, filter, bloom. Turn it up like this. Kind of makes it look good. And honestly, sometimes, or most of the time, I won't actually use the outer glow. But what you can do is kind of have this like 40 to 50. I'll leave that at like 40. Right, apply. Let's move this over here. Right, and instead of doing the outer blur, what you can kind of do is you can have your brush tool, turn the softness up a lot, turn the size to kind of however you want, leave it like 40. Opacity, set this to like 15. What you can do, hold on, I'm gonna turn up the size. So what you can do is just kind of color this, and then just make it, you can kind of make it thicker. Obviously it looks very bright right now, but what you can do after you finish just kind of doing this, put this underneath, and look at that. That looks pretty good in my opinion. And then you can just merge down, and boom, you've got your text. And then what you can do to add the like kind of outline that I do is alright, this thing is really bothering me here. Boom. Alright. And then what you can do is you go to background. I'm just gonna change this so it's actually background. And then you want to duplicate this, and then rename this to background bottom, or whatever you really want to name it to. And then you can hide that really quick. And then what we can do is for the background, grab this cutout tool, shape mask, and then you kind of want to get this as good as you can kind of get it, so I think that's pretty good. And then you want to kind of cut this out. Honestly, I might make this a bit bigger, so I'm gonna kind of keep it like this. I think that's pretty even. Let's just make it like this. I think this looks good. I think that's good, yeah. Because having like this thicker kind of border thing, in my opinion, looks a bit better, because you'll have like the bar and the bottom as well. And honestly, in my opinion, I think it just looks better. And then what you want to do is just apply this mask. And then for this background bottom layer, you want to go to adjustments, exposure, turn this to like 100 at the vignette, just a tiny bit here. Just gonna make it 30, and then boom, that's your thumbnail pretty much done. And in my opinion, I think that looks pretty good. You can Control S, save. 100%. I like this because you save as, and then yeah, you've kind of got your thumbnail. Make sure to like the video down below, and please subscribe, because I'm gonna try and get to 1,000 subscribers before the end of the year. That's my goal. I know we're not there yet, but I really need your help, so please just subscribe. Every subscriber counts. And yeah, join my Discord server, and bye.
2 to the 1, from the 1 to the 3. I like good pussy and I like good trees. Smoke so much weed you wouldn't believe, and I get more ass than a toilet